Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a game that I played. So how's it going, everybody? I'm Burrhead2, welcome to the B-Tier Review. I hate saying that name. So I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm going to be viewing here today. So you can look at the video title, the thumbnail, and listen to the first 2 seconds of the video. And I'm just going to get this out of the way right off the bat. I have no strong opinions on this game. I thought the first one was pretty decent, and the sequel... it's alright. So I guess I better explain how reviews work then. I try to come with 10 categories that I believe best represent the game. It's going on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and 5 being in the middle. So with that being said, I think we'll get into it. But I feel like mixing it up a little bit. I would typically start with something like gameplay or graphics, but how about something a little different? Like, say... Although I must admit the soundtrack of this game is very well made, it's mostly a collection of mid-tier songs in my opinion. They're not bad, it's just that, except for a couple, they're pretty uninteresting in my opinion. Hold on. There's a crowd forming outside. That's what I feared. It's the Grand Kirkhope fanboys. They're out there claiming that I ruined their childhood, unsurprisingly. Let's see if I can... Listen, it's not the only one that worked on this game's soundtrack. And I like the Donkey Kong 64 soundtrack. It didn't work. They're still out there. Well, back to it. It's true, though. I don't think the soundtrack's great. Again, it's very well made, but... I don't know, man. Just give it a... Does every game need a post-game? No, but my hand is covered in splinters from scraping the bottom of the barrel for these categories. There is technically a post-game here, because you can load your save file again and get the game for completing the course of Stronghold. But let's be honest here. It doesn't really count. I suppose the game not nuking your save file after you beat and allowing you to go back is nice, but I kind of would like there have been something, preferably in the vein of the first game maybe, but let's be honest here, this category is stupid. I have 4 categories I used in previous reviews, but they're unapplicable here. It's hard enough as is coming up with these things. Ow! My hand! Alright, back in the building of the category. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. I think they threw a brick through the window. I wonder where they got it from. That's concerning. Yeah, whatever. So from what I can tell, generally speaking, the longer game is, the less replayable it is, for obvious reasons. And you're not exactly going to win any awards if you play this game through a second time. Maybe you want to try some new strategies or something. Well, the game allows you to play battles directly from a menu, which I guess is nice to have. Options never hurt anybody. And, you know, I really shouldn't count it, but I'm looking for reasons to start a new save file, not replay only small parts of the game. But we need a little positivity here. I was going to give it a 4, but instead I'll give it a... This game is a turn-based strategy game. Or is it a turn-based RPG? Is there a difference? Is it... Oh, strategy. Thank you, Mario Wiki. So when I say turn-based strategy, chances are the idea that pops into your head is exactly what this game is. There's characters, things you gotta hit, you can move around the map, there's special abilities... and that's about it. The lack of a grid system in the battle is an interesting change, although I don't think it adds much. It's largely the same thing, although now I take into account more angles, and more math is always fun. I lied, it's not. Although I'm not very good at these games, not typically my thing, I know there's opportunity for some deep strategy here with all the characters and sparks and whatnot. That's cool, I guess. But let's shift over to the overworld sections. These are the easiest baby game imaginable. One moment you're planning to move and attacks 4 turns ahead, and the next, the solution to a puzzle is pressing a button in the right spot. Huh? It's just so... simple. There's just a really big... Ooh, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's just... I can't say there's much that really stood out to me in this area. Most of the battlefields were alright, in my opinion. There were a few interesting ones here and there, but none of them were bad. The overworld's the overworld and does overworld things. It's not that much more interesting, to be honest. Overall level design is decent at the very worst, so I'll give it a... Ooh, they've got a bonfire out there. You think they're gonna eat me? I don't know. There's a lot of people out there. Anyway, so, yeah, boss design. Clearly they're the life of the party, just like me in this case. Apparently. Although I much prefer bosses that test your skill, the fact the bosses in this game take the let's change it up a bit approach really isn't a bad thing, given all the battles in the game are basically the same thing anyway. But isn't that the genre normally is? So the bosses are alright, they can be fun sometimes, and, yeah. That's all I really have to say about that. You remember what I said at the beginning of the video? I have no strong opinions on this game. So I guess I'll give this a... And there goes another window. I'll give this a... Yeah, hello? There's an angry mob outside my house, and I think they want my head. They said the soundtrack to Marvel's Rabbids Sparks of Hope was, like a collection of mostly mid-tier songs, so I think I paid off a bunch of... Well, okay then. I got hung up on by 911. Guess I'm in this all by myself. So it's gonna be kinda hard to score this, because, well, you know. I played the game entirely on the intermediate difficulty, and even then, I found there to be some frustrating elements. Sometimes I felt like enemies would keep spawning without allowing a moment to focus on the task at hand. Enemies, well, sometimes they can do.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Of course, all of this is just my opinion, and we all know how much that's worth.
This is worthless.
Ultimately, I'm not going to take into account my criticisms because I'm working on the theory that I'm a big, fat, bumbling idiot and I should just get good. Or to put in other terms, I have a Dan Dory issue. Although Magnafowls can suck an egg. I do think the game looks pretty nice, although the art style makes it hard to tell the stuff like jagged edges on the models, which means that something somewhere is doing a good job. In general, everything looks pretty smooth, and, that's really all I have to say about that. I'll give it a... You know, my hand still hurts more like barrel scraping, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Well, a little innovation here and there never hurt anything, right? Right? Well, sometimes...
Shut up! I'm not taking dissenting opinions!
But is any change for the better? It's pretty subjective, and I'll explain my thoughts on the lack of a grid in an earlier section. The lack of a grid system in the battles is an interesting change, although I don't think it adds much. Even though the wheel remains a version of 1.0, I still think it's a nice change of pace. Although in the grand scheme of things, I don't think a whole lot's changed, there's probably not a whole lot you can do without seriously affecting the genre a lot. So, I'll give it a... In the terms of polish, if you played the first game, you know exactly what's happening here. It's the same thing. There are a few bugs here and there, most of them are graphical bugs. My biggest complaint is that when picking up an item, if you hold the control stick, your character spins around and faces the opposite direction. Well, this is what happened to me. I mean, playing the Chuck challenge is very frustrating. And of course the animations, they're really good, everyone knows that, they're really good and stuff, and yeah. To be honest, I care this category the most. So speaking of score, it's... And that was the last category, so why don't you go ahead and look at all the scores I've given out so far while I'll tell you what's happening outside. Ooh! We got a wood chipper out there. That's not good. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to the final score, which just so happens to be 61 out of 100. There goes another window. That's really gonna make the AC bill go up. So there's the last few things I'd like to say before I reach my ultimate demise. I feel like there have been more Mario references here. I mean, it is called Mario plus Rabbids, right? But there's very little Mario to go around. I totally missed that from the first game. Now that that's all done with, before they break into my house, why don't you like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can be the first to be notified of upload a new video from the great beyond. I regret everything. I guess this is what I get for expressing my opinions on the internet.